Okay. I'm Adil Bokhari, and
And I'm Damjan Jovanovic.
and this is Damn Geometry.
Yes,
All
this
right.
is Damn Geometry.
What do you want to talk about, Damien?
Um, well, I was thinking we could start with maybe talking about the work of architecture, or let's say not the work of architecture, but maybe this idea of what changed after the introduction of generative AI in the workflows. And and it's not even a new thing now. I think everyone is using it for years, but it's also seeped into different curricula that everyone is developing and teaching students with. And I'm teaching like the first year, the kind of the bachelor, the first semester with through AI, right? So it's like it's not even a question like whether or not we should use it. That's really not the what I was thinking about, but maybe more in terms of what it changes as a does it actually contribute a new cultural idea to what we do, and then does it actually shed some light on what we do in general, which I think is probably to me that's a big question that I'm trying to grapple with, is what is the work of an architectural design if it's not geared towards a building, right? Like in my case, for example, I'm not interested in buildings. I don't work on buildings. I produce like virtual worlds, and I work on video games, and but still I do think that an architectural idea is important in this sense. But the question is like within the context of architectural academia, how does that reflect, and with the introduction of AI and all of that, like, because one thing I've noticed, and I know from just being a human, is that we in this circle understand what we do as something interesting and important, but really no one else does. I mean, this is just a thing.
Yeah, this is No,
Fact
but
of life.
this is also the funny and kind of nice thing about specifically, let's say, ChatGPT, Midjourney, these kind of platforms that socialize these all over the world, is that not just academia, practice, like grandmothers and granddaughters and grandsons and everybody can do it and is doing it. Huh? So it's I think currently it's kind of in a state of almost anarchy, but then slowly things are coming along, and the more it spreads, the more it will be cultured, the more people know it, and so on and so forth. Yeah, but it's also funny how quickly it seeps into architectural academia, and the angle to it seems also completely strange. For example, with renderings, the attitude to renderings, it's completely hilarious because it's not taken as something that blows everything out of the window, but it's taken as something that is easy to do, and yet you have to talk about it in the same way you were talking about renderings, I don't know, 50 years ago. Huh? So it's the same kind of attention to the craftsmanship, the same kind of attention to, I don't know, questions of form or questions of drawing that keep coming up again.
Exactly. There was an expectation somehow that it's going to be as precise and as controlled and as kind of skill governed like any historical medium, which I think the beauty of AI generation is that it's not like that. But to me, it's really more like the question of how do we, because it does present a significant shift. I mean, honestly, I mean, this is just a fact. The problem is that a lot of the people who are in the positions to decide on the cultural value of things in our world they come from a generation that is ingrained with like much older models of thinking and tools, and to them is most of them, what I've heard is kind of either a new form of collage, and this kind of endless repetition of this phrase, oh, this is nothing new, this is it's kind of a remix of something which there is for sure there is a logic there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
Yeah.
I read from Lev Manovich this, and that's why I was talking to some people. To me, that's a question. For example, he said that we are moving from representation to prediction, right? As a um, as a kind of a way of dealing with images, because he was using AI as a, maybe prediction is not the exact word, but something in this way, because because of the way that AI actually works, right? So, but what does that mean? I mean, how do you make people understand that? And what is, to me,
Yeah.
that's
I mean, on one thing that I think kind of dawned on me while working with these tools, like I did a couple of projects here and there. This picture behind is also from this exhibition we did recently, and it really turns out that if you want to make something interesting with this stuff, it takes the same amount of time. So this was a killer revelation for me, because initially I was thinking, this is an optimization tool, directly. And then you're like, okay, my renderings will take much less time and this and that. And yet the time you spend thinking about it, or the time you spend crafting it, at least in your head, this starts to kind of, it takes the same amount of time. So you can do it while drawing, or you can do it while coding, or you can do it while crafting prompts. So this prompt engineering also becomes
yeah,
a funny kind of job description, and actually quite well paid. I think like
totally.
minimum
Well,
salary 300K for a prompt engineer.
yeah. Is that a thing? Probably
I think not anymore.
not anymore.
It has already been invented and disappeared
Yeah,
within
it's like the
a
NFTs.
matter
I
of a
mean,
year.
I
Yeah.
mean, there's so many layers to this. Like just thinking about the adoption rate and then bandwagoning that always happens in architecture. This like the seasonality of the fashion. I mean, there is something kind of interesting about that. Because I mean that's maybe a larger conversation. But when it comes to AI, I was thinking also about this like the problem of space, right? Which is something that always keeps coming back to me, right? Even if you talk about renders, you still had to kind of design a three-dimensional thing before. Even if you design it in a computer, still you're dealing with a three-dimensional kind of space before you render it. But then
Mhm.
this thing kind of starts from a library of 2D representations, which are then they kind of like are disconnected from any idea of space. And I was toying with this notion for a while to maybe think about the latent space, but that makes no sense. I mean, it's not the same thing. I mean, it doesn't
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
represent
And
reality.
come to think of it, so even this kind of the space of 3D rendering, it's always fake. So all the professional 3D rendering companies, you send them a model and then they will modify it as per their will. So
Yeah.
it's what I like
Well,
about these kind of these tools is precisely that this makes it crystal clear. So
oh
it's
yeah,
not the
no, for sure.
reality of these models that we take, that we take away from it, but everything kind of behind it, all the fakery, all the kind of mechanics of image building and world building, whatever they might be, they have to
Hmm.
get collapsed to a level where we can talk about it, and put it on the table somehow.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I would say maybe it's not fake, but it's maybe embellished, right? There is like a layer of unreality to it, which is already obviously that it's design, it's projection, it's all somehow this idea that we are there. We don't have an object in the world where we design, right? We have something that we need to express, and then it becomes an object maybe in the world. But I
Yeah.
think with AI, it kind of just remains in that frame, in a way. It's all collapsed, and it's like two-dimensionality of that frame. And this is so I'm going to extrapolate from here, because this is something I've started to call the Enchanted Forest, which I think is kind of is there is an analogy there to the architectural academia, uh, like quite literally. This is to me, it's connected, because it's basically a dream world. I mean, super interesting and kind of exciting intellectually, but not only that it does not produce a kind of any outcome, like you have to actually step out of the Enchanted Forest, I think, to do something with it, right? Otherwise, if you remain in the academia world, you're kind of always in this like circle of unreality in a way. You have your own little kingdom inside, and the little imaginary gnomes like working and for you and producing ever new worlds and new images and stuff, and it's all like you can recognize other people in a distance, but there is no connection almost to the outside world. I think it's an extremely dangerous thing. Like both of these things together. One of them is already the dangerous thing, right? Being kind of employed as an academic, right? And then the other is a dangerous thing on itself, just making images with AI and being in this like super like suspended state.
Orchestrator of things. And also this is also the specifically, I think, the architectural academia's disease to just talk about visuals.
Yeah.
And then what this kind of crystallizes as is you take images coming out of Midjourney and then you're like, that's a cool image and I can make a project out of it, with no kind of rumination on what is behind.
I mean, that's
the mechanics of it.
Yeah, but just that what you now said, I could make a project. This to me is the core,
Yeah.
Because what project, Well, I mean, this is incredible. I was recently reading the book that came out, and we are like part of there is a project we did, which is in this book. It's called Purple Architecture.
Okay.
I'll send you. I have it. I mean, it's a lot of different people working with virtual kind of stuff, and but it's interesting. They invited some let's say older generation, maybe previous generation, to write about these projects, and then you see just the erudition and kind of the breadth of education that people have in architecture is not something you would encounter like just anywhere. Like everyone in this book is able to write about 20 different topics really and kind of just like synthesize them in an incredible way, which I think is a great, amazing thing. But the question is, what is this for, man? Honestly, I mean.
And it's a given, It's a given that nobody will read it.
No one reads that. That's one thing, which is sad. Obviously, I'm not saying this is not a value judgment. I think it's a beautiful thing, but no one reads this. No one knows about this.
Mm-hmm.
Architectural, any kind of that, what we do, whatever it is not even accepted as a kind of a proper work of culture, right? You cannot, if you ask someone, do you think an architectural project is something that you would be interested in any way? They will say no, they don't care. And anyone outside would say, why would if you wanted to show them an architectural project, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But if you maybe say an art piece or something, some people might be interested in. But that's not how we talk about it. We talk about it as projects. And
yeah, but then again, if you turn it around to buildings, then this kind of for example, the line,
yeah,
everybody knows about it. Everybody kind of singularly hates it. Like it's just,
I don't hate the line. I'm sorry.
Me neither. I love it, man.
I think it's amazing, actually.
It's an interesting project, It's something to discuss in the state of the world today. I think that it's interesting, but the thing is, everybody knows about it, and it's one of these projects that comes about once in a while.
Yeah,
that has a friction on any level of abstraction with any kind of people, and yet architectural academia completely shuns it.
Yes.
Well,
I mean,
I don't know. I don't know if that's
obviously. And in my school, it's not like that because a lot of the
all right.
people are involved. But I mean, it's also not that prevalent. Also, to be honest, it's kind of something that, which maybe is a different thread of conversation. The fact that people who are actually trying to do something which does not follow the dominant idea thread. I can get back to that. What I mean by it, right? Like they now need to go into the catacombs almost, and become like a secret society, which I guess it's par for the course in architecture anyway, historically. So,
no, but then with this example, what I'm trying to ask is, why would you say then the architectural project at large, like, or the presence of an architectural project is not interesting or not kind of valid?
Well, in that case, it might be, right? If it produces some kind of a representation of the future, right? Which I think that's a perfect example,
Or the real,
Yeah, but an idea.
the embodiment of a new kind of reality.
Yeah, totally. I mean, this is amazing, but this is not how we mostly traffic in these things, as you said. We because we the academic world does not accept that as something that, because it actually moves people when they see it, and it produces an effect. So it's not like an in-game only kind of a deal. Like there is an exit from the Enchanted Forest there, which is kind of extending it almost into the desert of the real, so to speak. But not to go too far with this like metaphor, but I do like it a lot. I'm going to use it. But like this is a great example of that. Something that actually makes a difference, but still is not something where people would spend time actively looking for it. Like for this project on its own, they would be shown the project by media in some sort, and then they would be like, "Oh, this is cool, man! It's kind of interesting." They would respond to it like they would respond to the Las Vegas Sphere, for example. They would say, "Holy shit!" But no one is out there looking for architectural works and kind of being like, "Oh, I wonder when Frank Gehry is going to drop a new project or something." So the question is really, like many people who come, especially here in my context of SCI-Arc, come from SCI-Arc and they go into other industries like film, video games, like fashion. And in those worlds, which are way bigger than what we do, things are happening and things are meaningful for a big audience of very diverse people. And I think, to me, the question is, I'm always going to come back to this question, like, who are we working for, basically?
Yeah, okay. If I turn this around to my location, so in Switzerland, ETH, all the trained architects, mostly they end up in offices which produce the same kind of work that they kind of saw before, and maybe a bit worse, but it's kind of a consistent production line of architects that get employed, that get kind of paid decently, and they work in these offices. So it's kind of super streamlined with the industry, which I don't find too interesting, but I find it interesting that this is a mechanism where academia is working in line with the formation of cities, with the economy, with everything. Huh? I mean, Zurich, like if you lift a bloody stone, there's an architect there. And not just an architect there, but an architect who is employed and who's earning a kind of living wage, which is not the case everywhere else. So actually nowhere else, probably. Yeah. But then the question of academia, this is a completely weird, problematic, and I would say kind of nihilistic, artistic preoccupation now. So it is, if something is popular, that is taken as a sign, as something that you should not look at or should not produce. So people liking it is so it's this kind of super romantic angle on artistry and craftspersonness that
Yeah.
that is at the root of it. And this is what we've gone through as well. So I mean, I always studied in art schools. I mean, and you did for a
Yeah.
while as well. And
Yeah.
this is the thing that it cultivates. But I think uh, even what we call research in academia is in general not research at all,
Yeah.
because it's purely applications that everybody works on.
Yeah.
And if you can make a robot, I don't know, weld a piece of plastic to a stone, that's a PhD, and then you win.
Yeah.
You win on every
Yeah.
account with no kind of
Yeah.
reflection on what could that possibly mean.
Yeah. And why you would even do that, and what does
Yeah.
it bring to
Why
anybody?
would you do that? Why
Yeah.
would you
But I
weld
mean,
plastic?
just also in terms of just image production, I think it's, to me, the question is basically, we all we all and it all happens on Instagram, right? Like, we follow each other, everyone across the world, and everyone posts interesting work, and you can see it, and it's kind of inspiring, it's beautiful, but then the question is like, does someone who benefits from this? And I was thinking about this like along two lines, right? Like, one is inside the forest and one is outside.
Mhm.
There are people who have like feet in both worlds, and they're mostly these kind of architects, like with big offices, right? And I think to them it's kind of it's a free feeding, really. You enter, you take what you need, and because of the notoriousness of architectural academia, and it's like complete disregard of any intellectual policy, let's say.
Yeah.
You don't have to quote anyone, you don't have to attribute anything. You can just take ideas, take images, repurpose, steal endlessly, take, and then just say, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm thinking, this is me. It's like, this is the only thing which is, I think, like that. I have never seen anything like it anywhere else. Like, in any serious field, this would be considered like not pirate behavior, but some kind of insane, like inhuman thing. And I think there is a deep connection between what we're talking about and that, to me.
But I think it's not so special with architecture.
Hmm.
I think this is happening all around. So this in the realm of these peer-reviewed publications and all. So it's a
Oh yeah.
completely corrupt system, like the ratings and this and that. It's
Oh yeah.
really
I can
set up
imagine that.
for it's set up for that. And if you don't publish in this particular paper, you will be out. So you need to kind of court the editor a little. I mean, I was told a while ago by somebody in economics and finance that you have to go to 3 particular conferences. If your paper is accepted, great. If not, then you're done. And then you're done. You have to apply again in 2 years, and then you have to go through this again. And
Hmm.
within this conference, the most popular person was the editor of one of the journals. Not even the editor, the publishers.
Hmm.
So you
Yeah.
go there, you listen to the publisher, and then everybody has to quote the publisher in order to get what they think is valuable out into the world.
Yeah.
Like this is really sickening. And I think also if you pit it next to the kind of work that Google, Amazon, Facebook, like these big companies, their R&D budgets are way bigger than universities. Like it's just
Absolutely.
clear that academia is not
Yeah.
performing.
Well, no, but I mean, specifically, you see, this is the problem of well, if you think, probably if you talk about economics, right, there is an out there, becoming working for a company like that. That's like a clear out, like, exit strategy. But in our case, we have to actually stay in this world,
Yeah.
right, in the circle, to be relevant at all, right? You have to at least have one foot in it, and then kind of do this balancing act between excuse me, like reality of some sort and this.
Yeah. Which
But
both don't pay shit, basically.
yeah, Exactly. So what this amounts to is you have to be independently wealthy, right, to do this, and then this kind of breeds a specific kind of um, people in a way. Like you could kind of extrapolate like where does it go,
Yeah.
and that's the reason why things happen like that. And but this to me really is something. I mean, this is what back in the day, when with Peter Trumer we were talking about this, and he was right about it for sure, as he often was, to be honest. Uh, he was basically right. I mean, this is just it's people stealing stuff and then kind of like re-showing it as their own, and now with AI that becomes even more interesting because there is no clear even idea of originality or authorship. You can't even go in this direction. I mean, it's super weird.
Yeah,
But then I think,
stealing, I don't believe in that at all. So
well,
I
I believe in sharing of ideas.
yeah, yeah,
The problem is, but see, the problem is there needs to be some accountability where it comes from and what's the lineage that we used to do this stuff.
yeah. But then this is not unlike what goes on in art history and so on. Where you
Well,
have
yeah.
where you get gatekeepers who say, yes, we allow you to take this, or we don't allow you to take this. So it's I
Well, anytime.
think it needs to happen in one way or the other, but I don't think it's like I think we need to readdress authorship completely.
Well,
And
exactly. But
yeah,
the fact remains, that I think it's somehow there is a lack of there's not even an idea of how to solve this problem of attribution. And since ideas are the only thing we are actually working on,
yeah.
this is what we
But
track.
also, yeah, but also this this kind of insistence on ownership of ideas. This comes from the idea that what we come up with is new in any way.
Well, yeah, and that's
You
kind
know?
of betrays a lack of historical consciousness, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So I
So
could
it's
I could accept that if you tell me that this is um, the that's where we can go with it. But the problem is we could accept it, but the people who actually end up on the top of the pile of this, they will not accept it, right? And they will keep actually perpetuating this myth of like the author or whatever, right?
uh-huh.
So this is why I'm saying this. I'm not saying this that I'm somehow jaded about it or whatever, but it's more that we are being taught not to talk about these things because we are taking the high road. But the
Mm.
problem is then that, I mean, is this it's extremely manipulative actually because the people who are they are talking about it in their own way. I mean, if you I just want to I don't want to drop now the name of Patrick Schumacher again, but obviously I just did, so I'm gonna. I mean, I don't know if you saw the recent like lecture with this
I did
ridiculous getup
the
that he used,
Montclair the
the
Montclair.
Montclair getup. I mean, so but that's what.
I saw that. It's a bit gibberish.
Well, exactly, but it just keeps going. It's like a power train. Just every year it churns out a new ridiculous claim about like the world of ideas. Like
And
all
this
credit to him, and with the work with Zaha and the stuff they produce in the world, and it's like it's actual buildings. But I'm just thinking, like, do you really believe that people will start talking about tectonism or something? I mean, what, like, in which era do you live? Are you serious about this? I mean, but the problem is he might even know that it's complete bullshit,
yeah.
but the problem is like he actually does have an audience of an in group of these like new I don't even know how to describe it, right? Like,
I mean, for me,
there's no
it's a
historical
bit
consciousness there.
strange. It's a bit strange because this is, he looks like he's completely out of touch with the planet,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
That's one side. That's how he appears at wherever this bloody lecture was, wearing whatever the bloody thing he was wearing and whatever. But to think that this guy sells and sells better
yeah.
than anyone we know in academia as well,
This is the truth.
Yeah.
This
And
is what I'm telling
for
you.
me,
Exactly.
this is an insanely crazy situation because we just refuse to take this guy seriously. And yet
Yeah.
this is what we need to kind of dismantle, not dismantle, but kind of
No, we cannot. This is the thing. This is the problem. We cannot dismantle that because this is exactly.
no, I meant delaminate or look into more detail.
Oh yeah, just we can
No,
look
but
at it.
yeah.
I'm thinking the structure that we described right now, they are exactly tuned to produce that, right? Like this is the top of the pile of that structure, the king of the forest, like literally. But he actually can. He understands that it's a thing, right? So he can feed from it in a way. Like
Mhm.
take this, take that. I don't care. Like take everything I need, right? The problem with that, like offices, they're like married to that style, which is extremely outdated. So if that they were actually smart, they would like change this every year, like a fashion brand. They would churn out a new concept twice a year, for example, right? Like for actual architecture. But that's a different problem, right? Like this is a free advice, Patrick, if you're gonna look at this. So if you do that, you then actually produce. You're gonna be the king of the forest, really, right?
And
Right
this
now,
is
it's
what
kind of a
Koolhaas
fun.
did. This is what
That's a
Koolhaas
Kohlhaas
was
thing, yeah.
doing.
But
Yeah.
I feel like he's not in that game anymore.
No, I think
He
it's
doesn't care
the
about
project is kind of done there. Or,
it.
I don't know. No, the
Well,
project
but
still
you
lives
see,
on
the
in all
problem
of
is
our
then
hearts.
you have the
Yeah.
younger, like the next generation, which are these kind of strangely autistic material people who are amazed by the concrete wall, and it's so beautiful. And I'm sitting there thinking, Jesus fucking Christ, man, we have a world historical crisis on, on our doorstep. Like these guys are talking about the paneling and like and taking it really seriously and like wide-eyed and I don't
Yeah.
know, honestly.
So
And
now
and
I'm
and then
becoming
you
more.
have sorry,
Yeah,
just
go
this
go.
one last thing. Then you have the layer of academia supporting that. We don't need more heroes, like Beatrice and these people.
Yeah.
Like, what heroes are you talking about? Of course, we need heroes. Like, I mean, what is this nihilistic bullshit, man? I'm sorry. I'm like, it's just like, and everyone, so many people come to here to SciArc and they start talking, oh, the planet is burning. We are all fucked. Big block letters. And then their solution is to look into like, I don't know, like prehistoric architecture of this and that and kind of rediscover the indigenous kind of ideas, which is all great. I mean, I have nothing against it. The problem is we are living in the 21st century. We have artificial intelligence and we are flying into space, right?
Yeah.
And these
What would be
people
a way to talk about it, huh? And then these kind of things can be talked about, yeah, on a different scale, huh? So it needs to be talked about on a different scale. Yeah,
yeah, I
and
agree.
this goes hand in hand, huh? So this kind of the tragedy and disconnect of academia today with the assertion of the personal identities, right?
Yes,
So it
yes,
becomes so
absolutely.
you start to set up your own kind of walls
Yeah,
by
yeah.
which you make it impossible for a conversation to happen on
No,
any level.
no way. You become a token, collection of tokens, basically.
Yeah,
This
you
and
can't
that, and
say
then
that. Yeah,
yeah. And if you belong in this drawer, then you're gonna be invited to this kind of thing, and
yeah,
like it's a little world.
yeah. No, and
Um,
then this kind of what we were interested in as well while we were working together, this kind of production of genres.
Mm. Yeah.
But then to think of genre not as a kind of tribe, which you become a proud member of, but the genre being a way to communicate,
Yeah.
to kind of take and adapt certain styles or whatever you want to call it.
Well, exactly. And and be able to kind of shift your thinking like easily from one to the other and not be, and obviously this is difficult also because once you establish like an actual craft of something, some sort, this becomes a thing that you invest the time in and you have some knowledge in. And I think that's becomes a thing, right? But
And also that comes with the recognition that it is not you, that it starts to gain an autonomy that is beyond your person. And
yes.
this is the interesting part because it becomes as alien to you as it might be to anybody else. So it's a thing on its own that can talk and walk, and has a posture.
Well,
Uh,
but is that the work then of the project, right? Which is somehow, but my
yeah.
question is always going to come back to this, like, who is this for? You know, this to me is a little bit like a child playing with toys. It's like a in-world looking world that is, you can share it with someone, but it's like talking about your dream to someone else. Most of the people will be kind of extremely, unless your dream is extremely weird. I don't know if you ever experienced this when someone tries to tell you about their dream last night. You're like, oh, so much better stories out in the world that, I mean, I'm not interested in this. It's kind of.
Yeah. I mean, the first kind of answer that comes to me is always like, I like it. So,
Well, yes,
so
okay,
that's the first level.
I like it too.
Yeah. And then what I can say about the things that I'm liking nowadays are the things that bring other things together. So, like some kind of consolidation of things, some kind of composure of things, some kind of way to communicate with aliens. Huh?
Yeah, but still, it remains in this. See, this is my whole point here is that it's when you make a. I guess I don't know. I'm trying to make something now, which is I want to communicate with other people, which are not in this world, because I don't understand how else to do something meaningful, in a way that it's kind of trying to exactly, or as you are saying, how to do something meaningful that communicates and that brings things together. Because the
Yeah.
the the project of any sort the way that we talk about it, right? It stays in this like circle, a magic circle.
Yeah.
It stays in the Enchanted Forest and it
Yeah.
never does anything. It can become like a fully fledged amazing castle and many layers, a world inside the world, but it's still just who's going to look into it?
You know what?
It's
I
not an
think the missing link is some kind of connection to economics.
well, yeah, yeah.
So I think the major
How?
issue right now is really money. Huh?
Well,
So
exactly. That's exactly right. And we're not supposed. So this is the thing. So okay, let me tell you, like where I got this idea was I was reading Mark Fisher's text,
mhm.
uh,
Which
uh, "Exit the Vampire Castle," when he was talking about the problems of the left in the UK, and I mean, it's a really beautiful. I mean, as all his work is beautiful, but that text is to me one of the most beautiful ones because that's where he talks about, and that's a different context, right? He talks about the need to escape the compulsion, apparently in the UK, to not talk about class issues when you talk about politics, right? Because it's gosh, it's kind of like uncool, right?
mm,
Which is exactly what you're saying. Because see, this is the crux of the problem. We are supposed to not ever talk about money and
yeah.
how to connect that stuff because it's like I mean you're
Yeah,
expected.
there is no architecture without economics. No,
Yeah.
not project, not a building, not an anything.
Not anything, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think it would be interesting if some kind of historian or someone would be able to figure out where does our labor actually end up in when we're talking about all of this stuff, because we do so much work. I don't know anyone who does this kind of work that we do and gets this kind of like economic outcome. It's the maximum effort for a very small reward, even though the reward is fine. I mean, like compared to a lot of other things, right? I'm not complaining about, but still, if you compare the effort, just going back to this idea of like reading through a text of like your text or what I write about or what I saw in that book, or so many things that we have to connect and so many things we have to think about and do. Where does it go? And this is, to me, this is one of the reasons, honestly, because I don't like to be lied to by myself, like
that's a problem.
It's a real problem, I mean, because we want to believe in this.
Yeah.
We do want to believe in it.
Yeah. Yeah. And this line of economization of things. So this is just insane. With ChatGPT.
Yeah.
The way it just socializes and economizes artificial intelligence, this is really just incredible. Every person can be part of it somehow and love it and talk about it. Like there's nobody who's not talking about it. Nobody who's not talking about it, and nobody who's not talking through it. So it's there all around.
Yeah. No.
But then I'm thinking, like, what would be these kind of instances? So for example, with big urban projects. So I keep coming back to these kind of projects because there you really see some kind of way where architecture deals with the economy of the world. So it brings a city onto a new scale, brands it somehow, sells it. Like selling is major. And then in the past, it would be this kind of setup with the patrons and all. So you have a seat of power, and if you address the treaties to power, then you talk to the whole world directly. So then, what would be this power that one would talk to today? Like, is there a face to it? Does it have a kind of crystallized form? It seems like it's all lost and distributed amongst like insane infrastructure.
Yeah,
which just produces.
It's not even that it's lost; it's hiding.
Yeah,
which is, I think, the main, I mean, political problem of today is that you have.
Yeah, and I wouldn't. And it's not even like saying that there's somebody who controls it. It's a thing that can reproduce itself over and over again, put up figures, take them down, and so on and so forth.
But there is a class that actually, I mean, this is something that I think is for sure there is. I mean, people who have influence. The problem is, I think that, and this is not a new thing, many people have said that, is that they are hiding and they're dissimulating. Actually, that's the main strategy of it's like simulation is for the rest of us, where you have to simulate to have more, to be more, to be better, right? But this simulation is for them, where they basically simulate that they're less, they don't exist there, right? I mean, it sounds like a conspiracy theory, right? Obviously, it does. I mean, there's no two ways about it. But for sure, I mean, if someone has $1 billion, they can exert influence.
But also within this, some things happen that have no precedents and no.
The disappearance of culture, right?
Yeah.
Because historically speaking, that kind of class was producing culture. That was their only redeeming quality. I think in my understanding, you can go to, when you go to the Louvre, when you go to any museum in Europe, and you can feel it, and it's there, and it's beautiful, and it's kind of powerful, right? But they were not pretending that they are not what they are, and they were actually, there was this like a responsibility to that. However strangely that might sound to our ears, right? Like, the problem is no one today will do something like this. You have like underfunded middle class institutions throughout the world who are trying to uphold the banner of culture, which is ridiculous. Culture can only come from I think from like institutionalization of that kind. So I think that's
or a culturing of it, or a culturing of something, like a mass socialization of
well,
something.
exactly. But then you could see that what is done is kind of there is a gathering of certain cultures and kind of pedestaling that. Obviously, I mean, we can see that, but it's not consistent, and it's not something that can actually have a global idea, I don't think. Like a determining. It's very fashion based. It's like not a long-term project. What is
but, for example, again with this ChatGPT, I think this is one of those things that you cannot predict. This literally comes from the sky, so nobody could figure out that this could happen.
Well, yeah,
not
yeah.
ChatGPT, but like
transformer architecture
language model. Yeah.
I mean, that was a funny thing when they published that paper that it's called "Attention is all you need," right?
Yeah,
Basically, was totally something else, and then they thought like, oh, wow.
Yeah,
but as you said, it's like a blue sky idea just dropped from almost nowhere.
Yeah, by God or from the angels, or I don't know
what does that say about? I mean, I was reading this book, The Maniac, on the kind of it's interesting. I mean, it's kind of normie, but it's interesting, I would say, a reading of the life of John von Neumann, kind of a retelling of that through different perspectives. And when you read, I mean, I mean, he was a crazy, insane, like genius person that can, comes every millennia or something, right? Like, but it was an interesting thing. A lot of these people came at the same time, like, and from the same background almost of like Mittel Europa, like Austria, Hungary, Germany, kind of Switzerland, kind of weird place in a way. And it's kind of, that was the education behind that, the kind of the German, I would say, system of education that produced these people. But that's beside the point. And then, he went into, like, he went to the US and then introduced the idea of a lot of different things, including the first kind of architecture of the computer and how the computer can be put together and all of that. And the idea of AI, for example, right? But they were all thinking it's going to be symbolic AI. We're going to figure out the logic rules and, in a way, in some ways, right? Like to produce like everything from there, from the first principles up, right? Yeah. So what does it say about our species that what we did is just imitating existing stuff on a large scale constitutes
then with one for Neumann, then the next guy is Turing, right?
Yes, I think he was his assistant. Exactly. This is crazy.
Turns it around. Huh? It completely turns it around. This idea of the any machine starts to step in, and then it's a different kind of architecture of the computer completely.
Well, I'm saying it's still a symbolic idea, right? Like it's still somehow trying to produce the world from first, or not the world, but human, let's say, brain or artificial intelligence. I mean, it's not. I don't think artificial intelligence is a good term, to be honest, in general, but because it's not just that, right? There's many other things which are involved, but but then what happened is like we feed it a large data set, and it's like an idiot child looking at thousands of like millions, trillions of things, and then it starts like excreting these like like vague imitations, and it becomes much better, better. But then there is after there is some kind of a cutoff point, which is an interesting thing too, like where it starts like actually degrading, like ChatGPT and Midjourney
Yeah.
is highly curated, I think.
Yeah, but what is very interesting though that it produces a kind of common sense.
Common sense.
Yeah. So ChatGPT and Midjourney and all these kind of generative models,
Oh yeah, I see what you mean.
generate a common sense. And imagine then this is what Miro says. How that
Okay.
so not just common sense. Common sense, we're always talking about it, but then Miro says then this is common sense as a computational object. So it's a thing that So right now, if we were to send out something in space to communicate with us, it would be bloody Chat GPT, right?
Yeah.
Directly, because this kind of consolidates at least all of Western thinking into a package that we didn't know we could do before.
Yes.
That it's an autonomous
But it's
object.
not a genius.
Oh no, of course not.
It's a midwit, right? You could say it's a midwit intelligence.
Yeah, absolutely. This produces like all the most commonsensical things on the planet.
But imagine that. It's such a crazy irony, man. Like if you compare this to the thinking of that generation of people, and the kind of just take the science fiction that was influenced by them, right? Like thinking about the future and humans as becoming as gods and all of that kind of like and now actually it's like, oh yeah, we have it, but it's really not that smart. It's kind of we've done all of this, but it's actually what we've managed to do with all our efforts is like a medium,
Yeah, it's
you're not
Joe on
there.
the corner. It's not,
You can kind of talk to it. It's pretty cool actually, but it's not Einstein. To me, that's incredible. It's
yeah.
like,
But also, what I really like about this kind of uh, appearance of AI as being a dimwit
it's like a
is that
proper David.
it gets crazier than what any science fiction thought it could be.
Well, does it? See, this is another
It
question.
does because it is not something to fight with. It doesn't remain in this kind of antagonistic framework that we've been seeing all throughout science fiction. On the
Oh,
on the
you mean
eastern
from
side
that
of that,
company?
yeah, on the eastern side of that, things are different. So it's always like, okay, it's like Totoro.
Yeah.
Totoro is a Japanese AI, and he's
But
cool,
Totoro
but
doesn't speak so much. I think that's the good thing about it. If Totoro was to speak, we would think, oh my, this is either a genius or very stupid.
yeah.
Exactly.
No,
Well,
but this
so
is what
you
I
want,
kind of like about it, that it's stranger than what we thought it would be, because we were kind of
mm.
trying to characterize it through all the cliches of sensationalist literature that we've ever had.
But the
So it was never
cliches come
really.
from, see, this is what I'm getting at. That cliche of this is really, I mean, tied in my mind to this discussion about new heroes and whether or not we need heroes today and stuff.
Okay.
See, that it comes from that generation of people and their heroic endeavor to bring people from the Middle Ages, which is what 19th century was for I don't know, 90% of the people lived in the Middle Ages still,
Yeah.
into today, which is that's the idea of modernity.
Hmm.
So now everyone is saying modernity is bad because of, and for sure there are many bad things about it. Obviously, I mean, you cannot possibly do something like this. But do we know the context of what we're talking about here? Like we're talking about bringing people from like the mud houses of whatever into
Yeah.
like AC and like central heating and all of that stuff. I mean, this is the jump that was done by that generation, not only in AI but also in architecture and art and
Yeah.
physics and everywhere, right? But now what we
And
have
this is
is a
yeah.
today we have a midwit generation, really. I mean, I cannot explain it otherwise. That produces a midwit AI that can dream and hallucinate. But my question is, are these the hallucinations and dreams of a midwit you know.
No, but okay. Let's go back a little. So
See, this
that
is my extrapolation. That makes no sense eventually. But I'm fine with it. I'm fine with like paradoxes. And
but what we see ChatGPT and Midjourney and this all producing. So I think the product that we see as an output of that is not really the product that is being utilized at a much grander scale on a much more different level.
hmm.
So with these large language models, now they're doing medicine, now they're doing physics, now they're doing all of these things because it's not what the chatbot does, but the foundation, this kind of foundational model, this can do things that we could not do before. Like it can cure bloody cancer, most probably, but not really as well. But the thing is, it is doing some major jumps that were not possible before. So it's not a dimwit or a midwit or whatever you want to call it. The what it turns out as a chatbot is dim-witted.
Why?
And why? Because that's what it works on, which is just pure probability.
Well, I mean, okay, but it does in it's potentially learned from everything, not
Yeah.
not only from internet chat bullshit and kind of like low effort stuff like that, but also from like the highest works of literature. And
Yeah.
but why is it? See, this is the question to me, because I would say that kind of approach to producing intelligence
Mm-hmm.
is geared towards that outcome. And I'm interested in just the generative part of it. I understand that in medicine, obviously, because it can look at things in a different way and predict and correlate. I mean, right,
Mm-hmm.
much better than like a scientist would. But you cannot expect this thing, I think, to produce like an actual novel that will be impactful. I would say I've tried, and I've tried to produce many things like that, but with AI, it always remains to my just what I see from it. It just remains in this almost, but there is a kind of a strange promise,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we are hooked on this promise. And I think my question is like, do you think that the comparing this idea to something that might have happened historically, like an actual symbolic AI that is built from first principles that can kind of extrapolate its own mind from and kind of produce its own mind, right? Like
Right.
grow it almost from those, or this other version where you have now an internet of texts and images and learn from everything and just look at it like an idiot and then churn out vague imitations and copies and become maybe better at it through time. But like, I think there is a cutoff point there, honestly. I think.
I'm not so sure because I don't think in any case. So this is my problem with talking about these technologies, that they need to be autonomous in some sense. I think it is nothing if not in relation to us.
Yeah.
So it
Well,
is after all a human project. And then this kind of AI can only assist us, or we need to find ways to talk to it because
okay,
we just
so
don't know.
I think you're totally right. I think you're
And
right.
this is this yeah, so
But
it is definitely a technology that is state of the art, that we have no clue to talk about and or to talk with. And on the surface level, it produces common sense, or it
well,
is
okay.
an objectification of common sense. But what is also clear is that it can quote directly from whatever you want it to quote from. So you can ask it to write like, I don't know, bloody Einstein, and it will write like that. It might be weird, but it will do that.
Well, no, I understand that, but then the question of really it's going back to this like problem of how do we experience another qualitative jump like the one that happened in the early 20th century, which So it's another question, like whether or not we need that. And I would argue that we do need that, because I think this is actually this idea of the humanity as we now have it is becoming unsustainable, I would say, in many different ways. But especially as an idea, right? Like, because I don't think we do have a unified idea of what that might mean, as opposed to that generation, which I do think they did have it, even though it was extremely exclusive of. It was actually exclusive, right? It was kind of it was a Western idea, right? Like there's no two ways about it. And it was kind of excluding many, many, many categories of people. And a lot of what everyone is now talking about, it's completely right, because it's a reaction to that, right?
Mhm.
But still, even beyond that, I do think we need to potentially have another qualitative quantum leap like that.
But
And
isn't this a quantum leap? Like we have something that can talk to us as if
it's,
it's an image,
I don't
you know?
think it's not. I don't think it is. Sorry. I don't think it's not. I don't think it is a quantum leap. I think it's a logical product of our times.
Hmm.
Yeah. There's no other way to put it. As it's a world historical necessity that we have an AI like that,
I
and
mean,
not
if
and
we
not a genius AI that would help us actually do something like significant.
no, but okay, but then we can just go a little bit before the internet. That's a quantum leap, right? Or not really?
Internet, I think it's also, it's a historical necessity to have an internet once you have a. Well, I mean, these are, I would say these are kind of like repercussions of that era of like post World War II modernity, or that like 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s kind of era, whatever that was. But it was also, and then it's basically a product of a very limited, like Silicon Valley invented the internet. Like there's no two ways about it. And Silicon Valley goes way back to, there's generation before in the 60s with the whole Earth like project and that whole cybernetic connection graph. Like everyone is
Hmm.
connected in this. I have a graph.
Military and this and that. Yeah.
It's all going back to Vannevar Bush and like people like von Neumann and all of these people basically were
No, this
military
is very
professionals.
nice. Huh? This documentary, Das Netz, the net,
Yeah.
seen it, and the
Yeah.
Unabomber. Like this is fantastic.
Yeah. No, it's
Around this.
all, it's connected. And I think the internet is just, it comes out of that ethos. And it was,
How do you differentiate the cultural shifts that you are interested in versus these things that you say are a logical kind of logical progression of something else.
well, this is something that I think it's, as you said, it's a blue sky thing that just drops from nowhere. And I guess, but I have just a feeling that, I mean, whatever that means, is that like, imagine if we had a different kind of consciousness in a way that we actually did get an AI that can really change stuff and not only become this kind of reflection, like a strange mirror of what we can do, and
Like
and then we just,
if AI can get prophecies
well, yeah, and
away.
yeah, maybe I mean, this is again, it's coming back to like spirituality and this like, I do think we need a new thing, whatever that is, and I think it's gonna come in some one way or the other. People are just like, feels like people are waiting for something while things just go. Um, Problem is that things go haywire in like politics and economics.
I
I
mean,
mean,
not that they aren't right now.
they
There's
are.
like as if there is not one but two, but like
Yeah.
multiple wars happening on the planet as we speak. So
Yes,
right,
exactly. And it's always been like that in a way, right?
yeah. And then and I mean that's what I've heard about from the random YouTube people, not random YouTube people, like good physicists and all on YouTube. Like they're also discussing this kind of crisis in physics.
Hmm.
So there
Right.
is now we have quantum physics, and then we have thermodynamics,
Hmm.
and there has been no possibility to reconcile them.
Yeah.
One doesn't work where the other one is working, and one doesn't work where the other one is working. And then it has been like this since the birth of quantum physics as well.
Yes.
So there has
Exactly.
been no change in what this might possibly be, a new kind of unification theory. They have string theory, they have this theory, all kind of weird things
Okay.
that
So, but imagine if we had
don't talk
AI
about.
that could produce that synthesis, that could see somehow, because I do think we're getting exactly there, right? Like the problem probably is that our it's our problem that we don't have a theoretical and kind of any kind of framework that could find a different angle to this problem and then
Yeah,
see it in a different way, right? This is what I'm talking about. This is, I think,
yeah,
I don't know how to word it exactly, but
yeah.
like,
But this. So that's the thing with this kind of difference in what feels like a logical continuation or a logical result of something that has been happening before, and this kind of idea that drops from the sky.
mm,
I
yeah,
think I think all inventions are like both of them. When they
probably.
so like with ChatGPT, huh? Like when it comes, it's both an idea from above and from down below as well. It's just more data. Turns out it's just, if you train it on more data, suddenly it happens. But
Oh yeah,
nobody thought about it this way. Nobody talked about this way. So it's yeah, I think
because it
these
was
things are always intertwined. And then yeah, so
well, that is human history then, right? It's
yeah,
basically it's kind of an evolutionary idea, which
yeah.
I guess we could agree on that for sure that this is how it works. I mean, there's no, but I would say, imagine if we could, because the quantum versus like thermodynamic idea, obviously we could say like, oh, that's a scale problem, right? Like one works on small scale, the other one is a mesoscale idea, and it's all emergence somehow, we don't know how, from one to the other and vice versa and stuff like that. But how to like unify theories is not possible today by definition, by a world historical necessity. This is why it doesn't happen, because there is no one that can actually pull it off, I think.
You mean culturally, or you mean?
Culturally, yeah, yeah, because we don't foster that kind of thinking anymore. What in the schools, the thinking that we foster in schools is like, find your own little thing and go there and play within that little circle and
That I
push
completely agree with you on.
push it,
Yeah,
basically.
that I completely agree with you on. And this is why all the money goes not to universities, but to high schools and kindergarten.
Hmm.
So to train people in the common sense. And once
Yeah.
that's good, we don't need to kind of do it further on.
Well, exactly. But the thing is, they forgot, whoever they are, right? That there should be something there which is trying to actually do a crazy synthesis project, like some kind of stratum of people, wherever they might be located, who are trying to like pull from many different disciplines and then unify them. And I think what we are doing, this is to come back to our first discussion. What we're doing is we're play acting that kind of project in many ways.
Yeah.
In our like academic pursuit, we're trying to kind of synthesize into images and into concepts and into ideas
Mhm.
that kind of, and that's why architecture is fascinating, because it does give you that synthetic education, like,
No,
but
so in that case, I really kind of love it because it's really like you are writing stories for the theater.
hmm.
Which it does talk about the world, and we play roles, as if we're powerful, as if
Oh, it's
it's in
LARPing for
connection
sure.
to, yeah. And then this kind of theatricality, I like very much that we can do that. But also, I agree that I think we should be able to sell these plays to somebody. you know.
This is my point. Because you can only LARP if you have
Yeah.
and then it might be actually useful because weirdly enough, some knowledge is lost historically. Like if you look, I mean, I was looking at the history of like playing cards. I was interested
Yeah.
in it just as an idea. And it turns out, the tarot is a lot of that stuff comes from the tarot, but the tarot was supposed to be also kind of a project of almost like preservation of arcane knowledge, right?
Well, okay.
And
Magic.
and like magic, but also the kind of esoteric knowledge that you're not supposed to know about is embedded in it, right? But the thing is, why in cards is because no one will look there. Like no one is going to take a game seriously, so you can kind of put it there and like be safe through centuries. And I
Yeah.
think in a lot of ways, what we are doing is I would just equate it in this way. We're kind of folding all these like big ideas and into our little play projects. But I do think you're right. We need to finance some of this stuff. Communicate to the
Oh,
outside.
well, this feels hilarious that all of architectural academia were just we're just playing cards.
Yeah, I honestly,
as if
but
as if we hold obscure knowledge,
yeah, and this is this is like
Yeah.
so. But is there obscure knowledge or not? And are we
Mm.
even in control of it, or is it like a historical like development? I mean, I like this like Hegel idea of like world history being a spirit that kind of moves from one society to another and kind of makes you do stuff in a way. Like it's not literal, obviously, but and imagine if this was kind of a thing, and then it somehow now decided, okay, so I'm going to hide a lot of this like historical truth and whatever, and desire to do stuff in this like weird architectural kind of projects that no one looks into because no one takes them seriously, right? So that's still the hope narrative that I think we are talking through, but the reality is that I think the one that we were talking about before is the economic outcome of that is kind of is a troubling thing to me.
Yeah, and I think we need to incorporate that into the imaginary as well. Like somehow, at least so within this theater setup that we do all the time with images and text and videos and this and that, and playing roles of powerful characters or whatnot, and clients, like where are the clients?
Yeah.
Like to kind of play act these kind of things.
Well,
Yeah.
but I think when it comes to art and that kind of idea, I really, the more I look at that, um, and maybe how people were dealing with this problem, and I think especially being here in LA, the Hollywood side of that is actually that's that's one possibility. This is why my personal thing is now to go into video games and as a project, really make that my site and what I work with. It's because a lot of the most amazing historical ideas of what an artist is, someone who actually can make something and has a craft and has a life project in a way, has been kind of folded into that kind of, we would say, commercial like art, whatever. But I do think that's where the values are created, and that's where you are kind of valued as an artist. Because this other world of like galleries and especially in Europe, I mean, that's complete fucking bullshit. I'm sorry.
No, it has nothing to say about anything. And not just that, it's a very bourgeois audience that has
Oh
nothing
yeah,
at stake.
absolutely nothing at stake, man.
And
It's like,
and also, so either it's this kind of bourgeois game, or on the other side, it's kind of activist bullshit.
oh yeah, which is even
Or it's
worse.
just, if your art doesn't talk about the world burning, you're out. You're out of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
game.
yeah.
So
Or you're
abstraction
or you're a
is
token
actually discouraged.
or you're a token person lifted by the gatekeepers to show to the world for
Yeah.
a second, and then you're put back into the.
Like, I don't get how this is not the worst of the colonialist gestures.
Yeah,
Like this
exactly.
is pure
All that.
insanity. And how does nobody see that? Like, why
Everyone sees it, but
isn't anybody puking when they say this shit? I don't understand.
yeah, it's amazing. It's incredible, and it's all the same. It's basically a generations of people misunderstanding Duchamp. Basically, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like,
And what is funny though is that Duchamp was the best salesman.
oh yeah.
Like he could sell like nobody else.
That was the genius. But he was part of that generation. To me, he's the same figure, world historical figure, like von Neumann. That's thinking about on that scale of things.
On
And being
hero scale.
Yeah, thinking through worlds and making an actual something new, like an alchemist, almost. Nothing.
Did you see? Did you see this Dom Perignon bottle that Duchamp did as well?
No, what is that? Maybe I
He
know.
did a
Maybe
Dom Perignon bottle.
maybe I've seen it. Yeah. I know.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's you need to spread it across every layer of abstraction possible, or every bloody human being possible, because it's not about you. You know, in a way, it stops being about you, and then it's a project. Yeah.
Well, that's the world spirit at work, at that time, through many different people. But I would say, I mean, the problem now is that you have actual nihilistic, like dead, the Walking Dead gatekeepers in art, who are just like, who knows what they're doing, man? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is that?
Yeah.
And it's kind of seeps into fashion, and there is a connection now between like art and fashion through these like magazines. And then you look at these like mostly Berlin-based stuff. I mean, we come from Germany. We both of us, we went to the Städelschule. We know what we're talking about here. It's like, it's a particular kind of a vibe that I do not understand what it is trying to say, and what, if it's trying to say anything. Is it like empty posturing by European elites? And what is that? And then you see these kind of faces. It's all like blank, almost like pissed off expressions on these like magazines. What is that stuff, man? I wish someone explained this to me.
For me, this is really the kind of cybernetics gone haywire. Like, or given the drugs that you find in Berlin. So cybernetics and MDMA is all these Berlinales, or whatever the bloody hell you want to call them.
Yeah.
Because it's always power, it's always control, and then it's always identity.
It's
somehow.
always identity. Yeah.
And then the glitch. The glitch is the most kind of cybernetic concept I can think of.
No,
and
exactly.
This is all what they can do. Also, my suspicion is that they can only work with the glitch because they can't make it work right. Like that's so it's incompetence as well. And then you're like,
absolutely. Absolutely, it's incompetent. Absolutely. I mean, most of this stuff is just badly made. Badly made. Especially when you look at like any kind of simulation art that people are trying to do. It's just bad.
Yeah, and then the fetishization of that. And then you fetishize that, and then try to sell it as this is the best thing because we are breaking computers. My God, what about beautiful things? What about joy, humor, and
you're
love?
not allowed to think about beauty.
No way.
Because you're gauche. You're kind of like uncool.
Yeah.
I mean, the funny thing is, I grew up in like electronic music. That's where I personally come from, right? So it's not, but I never cared about drugs, to be honest, because I thought it was kind of stupid. I like whatever. It's not. I mean, maybe not a conversation.
It's akin to glitches. Yeah, whatever. But if we think of it in that sense, like.
Oh, absolutely. It's just like, what I mean. I don't understand how this world still exists and has some cultural cachet in the world. I mean, this is to me like baffling. Because that's not art what they're doing.
Yeah.
See, I think art is now the card example. Like that's what I'm talking about. Art is now in this like it's hiding through many different formats, which are not gonna be. Yeah.
And it has nothing to say. It has nothing to say on its own. It has
Oh.
to latch onto something else and kind
It's
of make
always.
it appear.
Yeah,
That's what
remember in
we,
stable,
we
like
they reveal. Yeah, they
making a
reveal
dinner.
the problems of the planet somehow, and
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is supposed to be art. This is bullshit.
yeah.
Like these,
Making, yeah.
I agree with this completely. And yeah, where is the world of prophecies and kind of
Where's
ideas
poetry?
dropping from the sky? Yeah,
I mean,
poetry.
where is
Yeah.
like I mean, where is all of that history, man? Jesus Christ. I mean, you have, or, I mean, you have like centuries of beautiful work from any country you can imagine. And like,
Yeah.
it's just like now we're gonna posture and like put digital like crap on us. And I mean, what the fuck? I mean, I don't understand that. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry, that was we devolved into babbling about this because we both hate it, I think.
Bitterness,
No, it's
burning.
not really bitterness because there's nothing, I
No,
think,
I hate these people.
with a burning passion.
Honestly.
No, I just think they're occupying spaces which don't belong to them, basically. That's
Yeah.
my kind of end. And
Yeah, but also but I think art, the kind of devolution of art is an interesting place to learn from,
Mm.
maybe. Huh? So now its connection to money, I don't understand. So the connection to money is a few kind of absent patrons.
Yeah.
So it's really, there is no face to this power that provides the money for these things.
Mm.
And it's all kind of dissolved into these kind of organizations or non-profits for this or that, which the more you dig into it, the dirtier it becomes.
Oh,
So it's
absolutely.
it's very strange.
Someone is, but there is always an agreement. I mean, you could sense that for sure. I mean, when we were back in the stable, there was always a framing that was prevalent because the tastemakers are kind of all talking to each other, and you can always see what's kind of coming and where they want to take it and stuff. But the thing is that these people are not very smart, actually. And because I mean, to be perfectly honest, I think it's also they're all very malleable,
Hmm.
and they don't actually have like they don't have hold like very strong convictions. You could say they have some kind of
They're basically shape-shifting reptilians.
yeah. So see, that's the thing. But it's like a metaphor, right? But it's actually
Yeah.
it's the
Yeah, it's definitely a metaphor.
it's not a real thing. But you kind of read that, and then I was reading this interview with this guy Hans Uli Hobrist, who is like the king of those people. Yeah, and then he's like, the question was like, what is the most unexpected object that you have in your sleeve? He said Xbox. I was like, dude, fuck off, okay? Jesus fucking Christ! Like,
Like Xbox signed by somebody. Like, are you
no, but
serious?
it's like now he decided that gaming is gonna be cool,
Yeah,
but
like
he's not gonna actually take a look at who's doing what. That's not. But he's gonna say this is take like a Brazilian queer artist, and that's where we're going.
yeah,
That's the
like
level of engagement. And then you look at that work, you're like, what is this stuff? This was 10 years ago, new when people I forgot I knew a lot of these people before, like a lot of studios were doing this kind of like sloppy digital. I mean, we've done it many times too, like kind of dada digital kind of
yeah,
acid kind of aesthetic, like super sloppy everything. I mean,
good
we've
back graphics. Yeah,
bad graphics. I'm like, dude, this is so overdone. I mean, this is the first thing you do when you start a game engine. Kind of like mess around with it, and but like there's so many people doing interesting actually stuff now, trying to do it at least.
yeah.
But
I
they will.
mean, these are proper artistic projects. Huh? So like a good game, this is a proper
Have you
piece of
played?
art.
Have you played Alan Wake 2?
No, it's good.
It's like, you have to play it. I mean, you will. It's not all good. There, it's kind of, I would say, maybe too long and stuff. But as a audio visual just experience,
Yeah. Okay.
I don't have. I mean, this is just a fucking masterpiece of contemporary like expression of culture. I think. I mean, it's a horror game, so, but they have this like the first, maybe it's like a forest. It's a forest environment. I have never seen something like that. You have to play it.
Okay, I'll try it out. The last thing I played was this Zelda Breath, not Breath of the Wild, Tears
Oh
of the
yeah.
King.
Well,
Yeah,
did you like it?
yeah, what a fantastic thing.
How not to like that?
Yeah, this
Um,
is yeah, this
but
is such perfection, huh? Such perfection. And yeah, it's old or whatever, but masterpieces can live in any time. You know, like this is
oh,
what I
absolutely.
like about Zelda. Like you can play it today, you can play it in 20 bloody years, or you could play it yesterday, no problem.
Yes, that's
Really
true.
does not matter where graphics is, where technology is. This
Well,
is something from the
yes,
sky. Huh? This is
yeah,
really
yeah.
something from the sky.
But I think with Zelda is more also. I mean, it's not graphics, but it is designed.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
fully designed. It's like
Oh,
fully
absolutely. Yeah.
like it doesn't look dated because it's just there's so much beauty and kind of it's good natured. It's the loving gaze that you feel it. I mean, it's the work of art for sure. It is absolutely, and I like that with Zelda. Not, I mean, this other Alan Wake is not like that. It's a very Nordic experience. They even have their own engine, Northlight,
Okay.
and
As are these the Finland
yeah,
people, I
yeah,
think.
Remedy. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
amazing,
yeah.
amazing. But you'll
And
see,
Max Payne was one of my favorite
yeah,
game ever. I think
yeah.
this was
I mean,
fantastic.
Control. I
Super
like
dark.
Control a lot.
All right. Ah, yeah,
Control.
Control is also from them.
But the thing with this Northlight is that it's literally someone who studied the properties of northern light, and then they made an engine that kind
Mhm.
of like makes it real. I mean, it's incredible. Just the way that the light works is different than the softness and the kind of the just the atmosphere. You'll
Yeah.
see. It's amazing. It's really amazing.
I was just in Helsinki. Like 2 weeks ago, I was in Helsinki.
Really? Wow. I never been there. I've been to Stockholm.
Frozen, completely frozen. I've never walked on a frozen sea. And sorry, a frozen lake. This was insane.
I remember in Frankfurt when when you were
The
asking me all these
snowballs.
questions. Oh shit. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, now I'm well versed with snow.
Yeah, you're into snow now. That's pretty cool. You go skiing?
Yes,
Yeah, you
also.
ski. I don't
Yeah.
ski. And I always thought that was a bourgeois bullshit.
Yeah, it very much is, but I love it.
Oh no, for sure. No, I'm joking. No, it's beautiful. We need
Good.
beautiful things.
Should we end it here?
Yeah.
Beautiful things.
Yes, beautiful things.